It's Vegas, baby! But just outside of Las Vegas are tons of places to go and visit and explore. A lot of it has to do with mining. Get out of town and explore. Today, we're going to be heading about 50 miles south of Las Vegas to the little town of Searchlight. Now, this is the home of Harry Reid. You might remember him, but it's also a historic gold town. And between the late 1800s and about 1910, it produced about $7 million in gold. So, we came out here years ago, probably the better part of 15 years ago, and the building, while in tough shape, was in much better shape than this. This wall was here. Just the years been very difficult on it, and this is what we find over time. These things degrade, they'll be gone, and that's why I like to sometimes show you some of my older pictures. I'm going to be showing you a slideshow of a lot of these buildings and stuff like that, and we had pictures from before they actually closed this mine. So I'll be able to, although they're just pictures, I'll do some voiceover, and we'll show you those, because our photos are some of the last that are ever going to be taken out of this mine. They simply won't be any more people going down there. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this and a bit of Nevada history. This photograph shows how much better condition the building was in. There was still quite a bit of equipment laying around the site, both inside and outside. Pretty cool shaker table right there. That would be a fun one to have. And then this one is basically kind of a grizzly. It would shake out the fines from the solids. And then just gear everywhere. So this is the hoist. This dates all the way back to the early 1900s. All these types of mines would have had a hoist like this, either run by an engine or a steam engine, some sort of thing like that. And look at the size of this. It's just one huge casting. At the time, this would have been all clean. It's all the rope, wire rope on here would have gone over the sheaf wheel and down into the mine so they could pull the ore in. I love seeing these types of artifacts. Unfortunately, so many of them have disappeared and gone to the scrappers, but this one's right here, and really cool to see it. So how did they know how deep they needed to send the car down there? The drum would go around, and there was a chain that would attach right here. This was threaded, and as the drum rotated, it would spin this, and it would move this pointer back and forth across, and they would know, they would have certain marks that say, you know, this is the first level, this is the second level, this is the third level, and they would be able to tell exactly where they needed to stop the drum as it went down, or as it was coming up. They'd know exactly when it was going to come over the rim right there. So very ingenious. All it did was they knew how many rotations it would take to move this, and that was the depth that the skip car was going to be at. And right here you can see that old chain. So you'll see these wood screws right here. The brakes on the drum, it's going to be a little bit hard to see because of the sun, but this is actually chunks of wood that they would have used to stop this drum. And then ultimately, if the wood wore out, they could replace it and then keep using the drum. So even when they were using very basic materials and stuff like that, these guys were pretty smart, the engineers that built it. And this is actually quite a complex mechanism when you start looking at all the levers and stuff that's going on in here. So even though we didn't have the materials like brake lining and stuff like that, the engineering of the unit itself was pretty amazing. Patent pending from December 11th, 1906. So here's the head frame. Over the years, it just continues to deteriorate. And if you look down here, this particular mine has been gated off. I'm not a fan of gating the mines, but this one, as you can hear, is right next to the road. And it makes sense to have gated it off for public safety. Now, a number of years ago, we had the opportunity to climb down in the mine. It's a long, rickety ladder, but we made it down safely. And the place was a mess. I mean, we were hiking around and stuff. So Tony picked up room and started to clean up a little bit. Of course, Kelly had to point out where he wasn't doing such a good job. And they use everything down there. So if they had a box, they used it for something. So Kelly's thinking about going up in this stope, but she needed a little encouragement, so of course I had to help a friend out. And we found this hand windlass, and it was really cool. I haven't found many of those underground so far, but it was holding up this water pump. So evidently at one time, the bottom of the mine was flooded. Tony liked it. He wanted to take it home, but we couldn't. So this is looking up the incline, and there's the hanging water pump. Tony's going to take just a quick break before we decide to start heading back up the incline. This is a cool old little oil can that was just sitting there. Anyone knows me knows I'm clumsy, and blood is the price of being clumsy. Now, we were out exploring the area, and I would have never expected to come across a beautiful stamp mill like this. It's in amazing condition, considering it's got to be 100 years old or so. The stamp mills are just amazing pieces of hardware. It had a cog wheel that would lift each one of the stamps and then drop it down and crush the ore. Ore would feed out of a bin into the stamp, and then the stamp would crush it down into powder. Really ingenious, very effective. So get out. Have some explorations of your own. You never know what you'll find. See you next video.